What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Busy Dad's Board Gaming. My name is Neil Odette, and today we're going to be doing an unboxing of Viscounts of the West Kingdoms, published by Renegade Game Studios. So, let's dive right into it. Alright, so taking a look at the front of this box, we have what was presumably a Viscount, and of course the name Viscounts of the West Kingdom. As it's part of the West Kingdom series, you have that typical orangish hue for the background to go along with the other two games in the series, Architects and Paladins of the West Kingdom. This was designed by Shem Phillips and S.J. McDonald, and as you can see here, published by Renegade Game Studios. Viscounts of the West Kingdom. Viscounts of the West Kingdom is set at a time when the king's reign began to decline, circa 980 AD. Choosing peace over prosperity, our once strong king began offering our enemies gold and land to lay down their axes. But peace is a tenuous affair. As poverty spread, many people lost faith in his ability to lead and sought independence from the crown. Since finding favor in his courts, our future has also become uncertain. As Viscounts, we must be wise and decisive. Loyalty is to be upheld, but gaining favor among the people must be our priority, should there be a sudden shift in power. So here we have the components throughout the game, as well as the game board with a depiction of the castle in the center. I don't know if you can see this here, but it is 1 to 6 players, ages 12 plus, and takes about 60 to 90 minutes. So let's flip this back over and take a look at what's inside the box. All right, so taking a look at what's inside the box, right off the bat we have the rule book. So taking a look inside, we have on page 2 the intro and the aim of the game, and as well as the components. 80 workers, 20 in each color, 4 Viscounts, 1 in each color, etc. You have some resource types, so inkwells, gold, and stone, some manuscripts, first player token, and the actual castle, which we'll get into once we look underneath the rulebook here. We have the 5 main board segments and 4 player boards. List of cards. We have neutral townfolks, heroes, starting townfolk cards. Page 6, we get into the setup. 7 steps between page 6 and 7, with an additional 3 steps for page 8. So 10 altogether for setup. Then we get into debts and deeds. So debts, again, return from both Architects and Paladins, but we also have deeds in this case. We've got virtue, corruption, and criminals. So criminals are making a return from Paladins. And then you have a whole virtue and corruption track that will track you along basically how you're doing in terms of virtue and corruption. Gets into the townfolk card layout, and then a game overview. And then we're right into player turn, so page 12. So taking a quick look, we got phase 1, which is card management. Phase 2, movement, where you'll actually be moving your Viscount around the inside and outside of the game board, taking the different actions that can be taken whether you're inside or outside. They are different, which talks about here. So after your movement, you get into your primary actions, of which you can trade, construct buildings, place workers, and try and transcribe manuscripts. So it's a little different. Again, I just kind of took a quick read of the rules. I haven't played at all yet or watched anything, but they're doing something a little bit different with regards to resources in this one. So there are resources. You have inkwell, gold, and stone, but those are more so spent to be able to gain additional icons. So in this game, being able to do things is based off the icons that you can find on your player board. So you'll find icons that will, if you have one trade icon on your board, you can gain 1 silver. If you have 2 trade icons, you can put it in towards inkwell, gold, or stone. If you have 3 or if you have 4, etc. And it goes along the same way, talking about buildings. So if you have 3 building icons, you can build a workshop. If you have 5 building icons, you can do a trading post. And the way you do these is by placing cards on your player board. You'll also be able to, once building those things, you'll be able to open up additional icons that you can see here. So you'll always have 2 trade icons, or 1 build icon, or 1 noble icon, or a cleric icon. So as you build, you'll continuously gain additional icon that can be put towards building, trading, things of that nature. So it's pretty interesting to see what they've done with this one. And also you can dismiss. There will be townsfolk throughout the entire board, and you can dismiss the top card of the deck that you're nearby, your Viscounts nearby, in order to gain that icon. So in this case, we see here the Mason allows you to gain, if you dismiss him, gain 1 build icon and 1 trade icon to use for whatever it is you're doing. Still carrying on, talking about placing workers. So this is an interesting system that they have going on here. In the center of the board, there's a castle. So this castle here that you'll be placing workers into and moving them closer and closer towards the center of the castle in order to score additional victory points at the end of the game. And then, much like building or trading, you can also transcribe manuscripts, and that can only be done while moving your Viscount around the inside of the board as opposed to the outside. I believe the outside, if I remember correctly, is for trading and building, whereas the inside is for placing workers in the castle as well as transcribing manuscripts. All of these things, of course, will gain you additional victory points at the end of the game. Phase 4, we have recruiting, and in Phase 5, we resolve collisions. Phase 6, we get into drawing cards, and then we have the actual end of the game, how that is triggered. Now getting into the bag of goodies, I guess. We've got, so this looks like, yeah, so this is everything for 1 player. So the blue player, we have the Viscount right there. We have some workers and the 3 different types of buildings. So the Viscount, that's actually a lot larger than I expected it would be. So that's pretty good. Here we can see a building type. Not sure which exactly that is, whether it's the workshop or what have you. And then your workers, pretty standard. And I would say probably interchangeable with architects for sure, and possibly paladins as well. So we have several bags of that. So we have the blue player, the yellow player, and here it appears we have some inkwells, as well as the black and white tokens that will go on the virtue and corruption track. Gold. Some stone. And then we got a red player as well as a green player. Okay, so taking a look at the cards, much, I believe, these ones here, if I'm not wrong. Oh, no, these are the player cards. So these will get dealt out at the beginning of the game, and you're able to choose one and kind of gain the listed resources and things of that nature on the back. Here we have cards, I believe, for solo play. And then we get into the actual townsfolk. So these will all get played to your player board, and while on your player board, one, you use the cost of the card to determine how many moves you'll actually get for that turn. And 2, the iconography, as I mentioned before, that's based less on resources and more so on the iconography. So if you require 4 trade symbols, so these bags, if you have 4 trade symbols on your board throughout all the cards that you have played, then you're able to perform more trade actions with them. And then at the bottom, if you're familiar with the West Kingdom games, you have cards that enact immediately when they're played. You have cards, in this case, that will come into play when they drop off of your player board. When they move off the board, similar to that one. And then we have ongoing effects. So here it appears that anytime you do a trade, you get an additional silver. So, and I'm assuming these are all the same for every player, just in different colors. So that is the start cards for each player. So you'll have a bit of a deck. And just take a look here real quick. Let's see exactly what. So these are the hero townsfolk cards, and these will be quite similar. This here signifies a criminal, so these are wild. So you can use those as you see fit. But again, once you understand the core concepts of the game and the iconography, because there's quite a few symbols to kind of go through and understand. Discarding a card or moving your virtue token on the virtue and corruption track, things of that nature. Once you get used to that, seeing all of those things, these games actually tend to be relatively easy to play. And then here we have what are the rest of the neutral townfolk. So these will be placed throughout the board. You can see here actually on a section of the board where cards get played. And what these are, similar to your starting cards, is you have a cost, and you can dismiss if your Viscount is near a section. So if it was near here, we'll just put that there for instance. If it was near that section, you could pay the cost to dismiss it in order to gain these symbols. So an additional trade symbol, an additional, I believe, a cleric symbol, and as well, you get the effect. You can perform the effect when you dismiss it. So in this case, discard a card, move your corruption token, kind of like readjust your track, I believe that one is, and so on. So likewise, if you decide to take them in and essentially add them to your deck, when they come into play, they also have persistent effects. Effects that happen immediately, or effects that happen when they drop off your track. So in this case, flip over a debt or a deed. Otherwise, they are all similar in terms of their anatomy, the card anatomy. But again, I absolutely love the art in these games. It's somewhat cartoonish in terms of if you just over exaggerated facial features and things of that nature, despite it being a medium to medium heavy game, I would say, generally speaking. So great looking cards. They are a little thin though. I noticed right off the bat they seem, I don't know if they're thinner than paladins or architects, but they do seem a little more fragile than what I'm used to. Okay, taking a look at this one. Luckily, I don't have to take a knife to it. We have debts and deeds, and what appear to be multiplier cards at the end. So these are all deeds. So you have the acquired side and the approved side. So when you acquire a deed, you get 1 victory point at the end. That's what the flag means on the card, is scoring victory points at the end of the game. And if it gets approved, you get 3. And that's all that is. And then likewise, we have debts. So this is actually interesting. Normally again, I'll go back to paladins and architects, deeds, when they are unpaid, so a debts when they're unpaid. So you see the full debt. You, at the end of the game, you lose 2 victory points for every unpaid debt. But it seems with this one, as opposed to the others, where when you've paid it, you receive even more victory points, or you receive victory points instead of having victory points taken away. This one, as soon as you pay it, it looks like you gain a resource of your choice right away, which is denoted by the lightning bolt symbol. So interesting indeed. Indeed. Because there's deeds, get it. Anyways, so there's multiplier cards. So the resources are supposed to be unlimited in the game. So if you run out, you can exchange 5 or 10 of a particular resource in order to carry on drawing those. And then we have the, we have, if you're the first person to reach the center of the castle at the end, you gain 5 victory points. As well, you have a persistent effect where you're allowed to hold 1 additional card in your hand. If somebody comes into the center of the castle after you and ends up having more workers in the center of the castle, they would then get this card, and they become somewhat of a tug of war, seeing who can get the most, if that's the route you want to go, I guess. And then here, these are for specific manuscripts. So if you transcribe 3 manuscripts with the yellow tag or the blue or the gray or the black, you get these cards. They will give you 3 additional points, and you have a persistent effect of, this gives you 2 additional icons for trading. This gives you 2 additional icons for building. This gives you 1 additional. This gives you 1 additional icon for transcribing, and this one gives you 1 additional icon for placing workers in the castle. So definitely, from reading the rules and just looking at the cards here, there's certainly a great deal of ways that you could go about actually winning. So interested to see how it's going to play out. And then here, I'll flip this over and get rid of that. We have, we'll start with the back here. We have player boards, 4 player boards. And then here we have the different parts of the board, the different manuscripts that you can transcribe. And it should be, there we go. And then at the very bottom, a whole bunch more manuscripts, as well as a first player token. These, I should mention, actually, all of these pieces here go inside the castle. So as you move through tiers of the castle, I'll just move this here. As you go through tiers of the castle, you'll actually move from first tier to second tier, and then third tier is the center. And when you move into the second tier, depending on where your worker moves to, you actually gain a specific benefit. But these are the 5, I'll just pull this out here. These are the 5 boards that kind of connect together, and then the castle, just as an example, the castle will sit promptly and hopefully perfectly right in there, locking everything together. So as you can see, you have the arrows. So if you had a Viscount here, he could move up along this way and then further this way, or from here, he can move here, here, and then over here, or kind of stay on the inside, remembering that on the outside is for trading and building, and these are the spots that you build to. And on the inside is where you transcribe manuscripts or place workers into the castle. So I don't know. I'm extremely excited to play this. This is certainly similar enough to the West Kingdom series that I think it'll be enjoyable, because we do really enjoy those games, but different enough that I think that it'll certainly add to, the options we have in terms of what we want to play on a given night. We do enjoy playing Architects and Paladins quite a bit, so that'll probably just, this will probably just take up even more of our time. So as I mentioned, more manuscripts. These are one-sided. And then you have what goes in the center of the castle, your first player token, and some additional silver. But there you have it. That is what is in the box. That was the unboxing of Viscounts of the West Kingdom. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button and ring the bell to get notified on any future videos. I do unboxings every Wednesday, and also I sometimes do reviews and how to play videos, so don't miss out on those. Lastly, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Links for everything in the description below. But until next time, thanks for watching and happy gaming.